Man, there's so much new stuff in Raid nowadays. It started out with level 20 dungeons, then it went on to Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss, and now we have Faction Wars. And all of these things are end-game content. This is the highest level of play that we can currently go to in this game. Now you have things like glyphs that can help push you further, 6-star gear that you can get. But the real question is now that we have to start pushing into these higher degrees of difficulty, what kind of artifacts am I looking to keep? What do I need to hang on to? Because I don't want you to be out there accidentally selling the things that you're going to need later on. That's what this video is about today. What kind of artifact sets are you looking to keep and hang on to for all this new in-game content? Hey, welcome to the channel, everybody. What is up? I am B-Hub. Super happy to have you tuning in today. We're going to talk about these in-game artifacts that you're going to need to hang on to, and what better way to do that than to just run a little quick Dragon's Lair Stage 20. Now, the reason that I'm doing this is because there are some things that are different now, mostly because of Faction Wars. And so what you're going to see in this run is my Sylar over here. Whenever she starts attacking, you're going to notice that some people are going to start being stunned. And it really helps clear out these waves. Let's see. Yep, we got Tyrell up here up front, and we got this dude back here in the back. Both of them received a stun because Sylar is wearing stun gear. Now, if you're anything like me, this was something that was not on your radar. This is not something that you really needed before Faction Wars, really. Even level 20 stuff, although I say it is easier to run when you do have this stun set, because as you can see, the other people have a really hard time fighting back, you know, missing their turns. So that does make it easier, but it wasn't like needed, you know? You could still just nuke everybody and be fine. But now with Faction Wars, it really isn't all that simple. Now you actually, if you want to progress all the way to the end game of Faction Wars, you have to have the ability to disrupt your opponent. It isn't as simple as nuking them down because their levels are so high, their HP is so much, and their team compositions are very well crafted. So you're fighting people who are like rezzing each other, healing each other, you know, all this different kind of stuff. And so if you can't disrupt the other team, then you're going to lose in these late game fights. So you're going to have to start resorting to some different things to be able to win these fights. And it can't be as simple as, well, if I just pull the right hero, because maybe you don't pull that hero. So what are you going to do if you only have the heroes that you have to work with? Well, one of the things that you can work around is your artifacts. And that's why this video is here today, to really put on your radar some things that you might need for the very end of the game. Really, we're going to finish out this Dragon 21 right here, but I do want to start out, before we get into all of this, and talk about kind of the last video that I did. We left off on our early to mid-game artifacts. And one of the things I did not address in that video for the mid-game was dungeons. And really, because we were running out of time, but also one of the things I want to say about dungeons when it comes to the mid-game and to even the beginning of the end game is really you can get away with the same stuff that we talked about for mid-game. Your lifesteal sets are still going to be incredibly important. They're going to help you run through. My Aothar and my Dracomorph on this run are both in lifesteal gear, and as you can see, they can both handle their own, no problem. So lifesteal is still going to be one of the main things that you're going to bring even to dungeons, as well as something like Clan Boss. So you really don't actually have to switch stuff up all the time. For dungeons, you can kind of keep it the way it is because switching out gear is expensive with silver. Alright, so let's go through these sets kind of one by one and talk about them and see which ones are you going to keep for the future. So Life is going to get replaced by Immortal set, which drops from the Clan Boss, and that not only gives you the extra life percentage but also gives you a little bit of heal. So that's going to get replaced. Offense is also going to get replaced by the Cruel set, which also drops from Clan Boss. So you're going to be on the lookout to replace this as well. Both of them could still have some uses if you run out of the other gear, but realistically, these are going to start to drop off a little bit. Defense is still going to be a little bit relevant. It's not at the top of our tier list here, but it is at least on the radar. You still will have uses for defense gear. It can still come in handy in certain situations. Now, crit rate is probably going to drop off almost altogether. You might use it obviously for your farmer, but you should already have that taken care of. For a lot of this late game stuff like Clan Boss and these high level Faction Wars crypts, you're not really going to be looking to run this as a set. You're going to be hoping to get this from your substats. Now, resistance has a very, very specific situation, which is spider level 20. There's a strategy called the negative affinity tank, or the off tank strategy, and you can kind of check out some videos on that and see how it works. But basically, you're gonna need a lot of resistance, and you might need to bring one or a piece of this set. So that's an option for you, but you don't need to hoard a lot of this. You should be fine with just enough to get you by. Now, retaliation. Retaliation isn't going to see a lot of play. That just isn't super relevant. Now, reflex gear, make sure you can see that. Yeah, reflex gear, that is going to have some niche kind of uses. So you do want to hang on to your reflex gear. Right now, a lot of people are still experimenting with a lot of different kind of builds and a lot of different kind of teams for like late game clan boss and things like that, and even some of these faction wars things. So for reflex, it's worth hanging on to good pieces. So a good piece of reflex gear is going to have good speed substats. So if it's a reflex gear, 5 or 6 star, then you're going to want to hang on to that piece of reflex gear. It really could be useful in the future. Now, cursed is basically, I don't know, I never use it. It's not great. You want a hero that can do 100% heal reduction anyways. So don't worry about your cursed gear. Now, this taunting gear down here at the bottom, this is one of those new sets that you want to keep on your radar. Just like the stun set, taunting has the ability to disrupt the opponent, which is exactly what you want to do. You want to mess with their ability to use their best skills, and provoke does that. This set has the ability to place the provoke buff on somebody, which means that they have to attack whoever provoked them, and they can only use their default skill. So you want to put this on a tanky kind of character who can take the hits, but this is something that's going to help you move into those later levels of faction wars. So keep this on your radar. Taunting, you want to hang on to that. Alright, moving on to Dragon. This is where you're going to spend a lot of your time with your farming. Now, let's go through these sets one by one on here too. Accuracy, not going to need that. That's going to get replaced with Great Hall, Accuracy Banner, and Substats. Speed. Speed is where it's at. This is it is, I would say, the highest priority when it comes to your artifacts. Speed is going to be really, really key in a lot of this stuff in the late game. It's huge. So you want to hang on to your speed gear, and you want speed gear that also has speed in its substats. You want to go as fast as possible a lot of the time. So this is going to be really, really crucial for us, is to have that speed gear. Lifesteal is still really, really important in the end game. There's quite a few of like the highest damage dealing Ultra Nightmare comps that I've seen that still run lifesteal. So this is still very relevant even in the end game. So hang on to your lifesteal gear as well. Destroy, don't worry about it. Toxic, don't worry about it. Frost and Daze, although they can disrupt the opponent, don't do near as well of a job as Stun and Taunting do. Those are significantly better. So if you're going to try and hold on to gear that's going to disrupt the opposing team for faction wars, I recommend Stun and Taunting. Frost, you have to get hit for it to work, so that's not great. And then Daze, they can wake up, so also not as great. Avenging, you don't want to really use that as well. That it doesn't work. Now, Stalwart down here at the bottom, this is one of those things that people are currently experimenting with, trying to see if they can push into some later rounds by using this. So I would keep note of Stalwart gear. I would hang on to Stalwart gear that has speed in its substats, very similar to the reflex gear. Hang on to good Stalwart pieces that have speed in the substats, and you should be all right there. Alright, last upon this is the Fire Knight Castle. So Fury, trash. Curing, trash. Immunity, trash. Shield, okay. I think it might have some practical application in faction wars. I don't know if we're going to see it in the highest levels, but I think you can probably hold on to some of your good shield pieces. Crit damage, that also, if you already have your farmer and you already have this kind of arena nukers and things like that, you don't need a ton of crit damage, but again, hang on to your good pieces. Frenzy, you don't need that. Regeneration, no. Stun. Stun is that thing that we've been talking about. You do want to hang on to those stun pieces. And Savage, so far I haven't seen a lot of people running any Savage gear. I don't use it at all either, so I wouldn't really recommend that one as well. So really for Fire Knight's Castle, you're just trying to hold on to stun, maybe a little bit of shield, and maybe a little bit of crit damage. Alright, so the only thing that really isn't covered in the dungeon list is going to be your Immortal and your Cruel set, which like I said, you're going to want to hang on to those. Obviously, they're both still really good. And then you have like the Divine stuff, right? Divine crit rate, Divine offense. And I'm sure those things they're obviously upgrades from their original counterparts, but they're going to be hard to hoard anyways, just because of how difficult they are to get. But hang on to those if you find some good pieces, obviously. Now, what about your main stats and your substats? So, bringing stuff to Faction Wars, you're going to probably want some well-rounded builds. You're probably going to want to have a character that can disrupt the opposing team, like we talked about before. But you're also probably going to want to have a character who can do a lot of damage. So, for your gloves, I would recommend hanging on to crit damage, HP percentage, and defense percentage. I think those are really going to be some of the stats that you're looking for on your gloves. You might hold on to crit rate every once in a while, if you really feel like you need to. But I think crit damage, HP percentage, defense percentage on your gloves, those are really what you're going to, I think, be looking out for in-game stuff. For your chest, you're going to watch out for attack percentage, HP percentage, and defense percentage, right? Just depending on what kind of build that you have, those are what you want on your main stat. Now, anything else, you can probably just chuck it. For speed, you're going to want speed for your boots, you're going to want speed, right? That is primarily what you want. That almost never changes. So yeah, speed on your boots. If you get 4, 5, or 6 star gear for speed on boots, on the main stat, keep that. Keep those boots for any of these relevant sets. For your substats, it really just kind of depends on what you're trying to do with this specific piece of gear. So if you're running something like a Cruel set, then you're probably going to be looking for stuff like attack percentage, crit rate, crit damage on your substats, as well as speed and accuracy depending on the character, right? Speed being, I would say, probably number 1, and then whatever you need under that. So, and then on your defensive kind of stuff, when you're trying to stay alive a little bit longer, disrupt the team, you're going to want stuff like speed, accuracy, if you need accuracy, HP percentage, and defense percentage. That's really the substats that you're going to be looking for on those kind of characters. So there you have it. I think that's pretty much it. If you have any kind of comments, questions, concerns, let me know in the comments below, and let's figure out this in-game stuff together. If you got something out of this video, hit like and hit subscribe. I would really, really appreciate it. And if you're feeling like over the top extra generous, there is a way to donate down there as well. Man, thank y'all so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.